Hey, everybody. Stu Smith here going live. Hope you are doing well. Today, we're going to chat a little bit about recovery before you guys hop on here, and then we'll take some questions, maybe show some videos if I can get them to upload, which for some reasoning, I am not finding my videos that I uploaded or emailed myself so I could download them onto this computer and show you guys. So, anyway, recovery tools. So there's a lot of them. We probably spend a lot of money on recovery tools. I mean, you name them: massage tools, foam rollers, supplements. Um, what else? Massages, hot tubs, ice baths. So, what is it that we're trying to do when we recover from stress, whether that is physical stress, mental stress, work stress, family stress, emotional stress, you name it. Stress is stress. Hormonally speaking, it is stress. But there are ways to help you recover from that. And guess what you really need to master before we can really start talking about the other elements of recovery? And that is the biggest two, and what a lot of people neglect, and that is sleep and nutrition. I mean, eating well, um, because amino acids can help your body break down those catabolic hormones, or whatever's running through your catabolic stress. Um, Antioxidants in fruits and vegetables can help you break down free radicals that are just wreaking havoc in your body, killing cells. So there's many levels of recovery on the cellular level, muscular level, and just overall mental acuity level. Like, are you with it? Like, you're so burned out that you just can't do anything, right? So there's many things to recover. And number one and number two, probably in this order: sleep and nutrition. Sleep is our number one recovery tool. I don't care who says what supplement you need to buy. If you don't sleep, you might as well be overtraining. You're going to have all the same symptoms as overtraining just because you don't sleep. And you may have a perfect nutritional balance. You may have a perfect program built for you, great splits, everything's working. But if you don't sleep, you're very likely going to have those negative results. It's just the way it is. Um, and if you do it for long enough, it becomes chronic to a point where you're not seeing any results. You have no motivation to train, and it just snowballs from there to some chronic illnesses. So, sleep, nutrition, then you play around with all the other stuff: foam rollers, supplements, um, massage tools, you name it, right? All of those things just make you feel a little bit better. But to truly recover requires sleep and eating well. Also, hydration, electrolytes, that's also part of it too. In fact, sometimes if you ever do a really hard workout, you sweat profusely, like you can wring out the sweat in your shirt, and you've done everything right afterwards. You've cooled yourself down, you have eaten, you've hydrated, and if you're still laying there feeling like crap, chances are you need more electrolytes, because if you sweat profusely, you're going to need to add some salts. And usually, just a little bit of salt can bring you back up to, functioning again. Because I've had that a few times where I just, like, hard workout, normal hard workout, just I sweat a lot because it was really hot and humid. And then, go through my ritual of hydrating, eating, taking a shower, cleaning up, and I still lay down on the couch, like, thinking, shit, else do I need to do? I still feel like crap. Um, and then get some salt. And usually, what I do is I treat dehydration and low electrolytes the same way I do the flu, and I get a can of chicken noodle soup. And no kidding, that is night and day. Think about it when you have the flu. What's your mom bring in for you? Can of chicken noodle soup. You eat that and you're like, oh, I feel better. Thanks. Right? Well, when you're throwing up and crapping out all your electrolytes, you're low on electrolytes. You need some. And that chicken noodle soup's loaded with them. Usually, a can of Campbell's chicken noodle soup has about the same potassium as, two or three bananas. It's got the sodium of a salt lick. So you can definitely rejuvenate yourself real quickly with that. And it's just a very simple cooling down, hydration, and electrolytes on those hot and humid days. So, yes, in a nutshell, my opinion, science's opinion as well. Sleep and nutrition, number one and number two. You're neglecting that, you're neglecting optimal performance, because the mastery of optimal, or I should say, the mastery of recovery is optimal performance. Also, it's the it's longevity as well. Same deal. Just got to do a little bit different when you're older. A little bit more focused because our ability to recover is a little bit slower as we age. So we got to really adhere to your sleep and nutrition then, just the way it is. All right, folks. So if you guys got questions, send them. Happy to answer some. I am looking for videos that I emailed myself, which for some reason are lost in the world between my phone and my computer. And I was in a hot spot when I did it, so I don't understand what has happened. So I may very well not have videos to share with you unless I'm going to try one thing. Unless I can share my um nope, I can't. I was thinking I could share my phone with you. I can only do that on Zoom. I'm not using Zoom right now. Haven't figured out how to do this on StreamYard. StreamYard allows me to share this live video on two Facebook pages and YouTube all at the same time. So it's like, multiple areas out there. All right, so let's see. Do you recommend any kind of supplement? Sure. I'm not saying supplements you shouldn't do them. I'm just saying they're not what is truly going to help you recover. They may help with recovery, but they're not going to be the number one factor in your recovery. Um, I mean, I take vitamin D, I take vitamin, like a multivitamin, I take this turmeric, curcumin. All right. Just read about it and was like, that may be helpful with my achy joints and recovery, inflammation. Um, so what I try to do is if I try something new, is I'll use all these bottles for probably a couple of months, and then I'll get off of them and see if I notice a difference. That is when you can truly um, see if you really need them, right? Because I mean, this is probably $50, $60 worth of multivitamins and vitamin D, vitamin B, and other stuff. Um, do I really need those? For a month, I think I got the 45 day supply of them. I'm about to find out. I tend to go back to them because it's kind of a habit. I sit down at my computer, I got my supplements next to me, my vitamins, they're good tasting gummies. Kind of look forward to it and take them. Um, but I eat really well, so I'm not sure if I really need them. But not every day I eat really well, so it may make up for a day I have a poor food choice at lunch and dinner. Sometimes I go to a baseball game and all they have is like a hot dog, and that's like oof, not the best dinner. So hopefully that is covering for me. We'll see. Looking back on your journey on becoming a SEAL, is there anything that you regret? I don't think it's healthy to have a lot of regrets. I don't. I mean, it is what it is. Could things have gone smoother and better? And could I have been nicer to a couple of people? Yes. I would say regrets in that regard, sure. Um, but I mean, I wouldn't really change anything. Um, Maybe one time when I opened my mouth when I shouldn't have would have been nice to that person. But you know, it's just I was young too. So I got to forgive yourself. I was like, in my 20s, early 20s, and sometimes stupid in my preparation. But no, I was pretty serious about it. I think one of the biggest things that you have to do when you're on this journey is be serious about everything. Be serious about how you're going out at night, what extracurricular activities you're doing. Um, because all it takes is something stupid from drinking, a fight, DUI, um, an accident, that occurs because you're lost your balance, partying too much. Um, or if you're doing some extracurricular activities that are pretty tough on you, like, contact sports, martial arts, and you're about 3 to 4 months out from, shipping out and going to buds. I mean, I think those are things that you just have to start realizing that your potential for injury could ruin, or potential for bad decisions could ruin your chances, especially that close. If you have a date to go and now you have to get surgery 2 months before you go to buds, guess what? You're not going to buds, and you may not get to go back to buds because of that surgery because you punched somebody in the face and broke your hand. I've seen a lot of stupid people do that. Good people that just were stupid one night, lost their ability to serve. So I would say if you want to learn anything, try to learn from other people's mistakes because those are big ones. Big ones. In fact, I'm writing a book right now that is pretty much everything that I can think of that ruins your chances of going special ops. It's not even a workout book. It is basically me coaching people of like, here's my top 10 things not to do, from, going into a recruiter's office not knowing anything about the PST. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that walk into a recruiter's office and they say, I don't know, what kind of jobs do you have? First of all, this isn't a job hunt, right? This isn't a career fair. You should know exactly what you want when you walk into that recruiter's office and you say, this is what I want to do, and you should know this is where I'm going to train. This is where I'm going to live. This is how I'm going to do it. This is the fitness test I have to pass. You should know that and already be practicing it. A lot of people walk in there and they say, oh, that's cool. What's a Navy SEAL do? Oh, there's a fitness test. Oh, okay. What's that? It's the first time they're ever hearing about it. If it's the first time you're ever hearing about the PST in a recruiter's office, you don't have a chance, in my opinion. I mean, maybe unless you're just a badass that's just gifted and everything, and you're already pretty physically fit. But chances are, if you haven't prepared specifically for that event and beyond, you really don't have a chance. So anyway, I'm writing a book on all of that, and uh, I'm almost done with it. It'll be out very soon. In fact, I can share the cover with you. I think I shared it last week. Let me see if I can find it. Just had it pop up the other day. All right, here we go. So here you go. You guys see this? All right, so get ready to serve. How to avoid the most common mistakes that keep you out of special operations. Not even a fitness book. I mean, I may put a couple of workouts in there just to, because that's what I do, like the 50-50 or maybe a pyramid or something. But for most part, it is basically me coaching 10 horrible mistakes that people make when they're going through this journey. And hopefully I won't sell it for much, maybe $10 or something. And hopefully it will help people understand everything they need to know before they walk into a recruiter's office. So what kind of watch do I use? Should I get a Timex or should I get a GPS watch? I got a Timex. In fact, I just ordered the old school 80s and 90s Timex that's out. Um, it's I think it's like the Iron Man triathlon, and it's got this Indiglow button. That's pretty common now. I mean, like this isn't even a good Indiglow. But anyway, it's a really cool one. Used that forever when I was in the Navy, and it was very helpful from keeping lap scores to time and distance. Whatever you need it for. It was great. I loved it. Um, I have a machine that you stand on and it vibrates the whole body. It's awesome. Yeah, I've seen those. They're pretty cool. Um, Definitely shake you up for sure. Do I track macros? Do you have a daily or long-term nutrition goal? Um, I used to track macros, and then what I did is I just got in the habit of those same meals, and sizes of meals and calorie intake. That has been very helpful with me maintaining a weight that is my college weight. So as long as I am in my college weight zone, I'm pretty happy. Every now and then I'll go through a lift cycle and it'd be winter and I pick up some weight, because I'm, eating more. Um, and that's always a struggle to lose it. And I'll reduce some of those calories. But for the most part, it's a lot of protein, still eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and good fats. I do like a guacamole, tight fat, avocado, and olive oil, stuff like that. Um, do you prefer eating during long workouts, Rux? Yes, absolutely. Especially super long ones. Anything over 3 hours, I definitely need to eat something and of course hydrate, get some electrolytes in there. Otherwise, you're just going to run out of fuel. You only have so much fuel that you can go, especially if you're going hard. You're going to burn through a lot of blood sugar and glycogen. Chances are you're not, if you're going hard, you won't be in that lower fat burning mode and you just can't keep up with the energy demands. So you definitely need to eat in that case. But if you can go slow and steady, there's no real need to eat a lot other than just hydrate if you have some, fat to burn. So it kind of depends on your activity and how intense you are going. What did your PST times look like before Buds back in the day? You know what? I'd had average, but well, I shouldn't say that. I had above average scores when I was a candidate, and then I got a lot better when I was uh, like 3, 4 years in. Um, my PST scores really got crazy. Um, I I really didn't know how to swim that well, but I still swam like an 8:45, ran like a 9. Um, my push-ups were sick, but we counted them different back then. I think I had 140 push-ups in 2 minutes, but back then you could just crank them out fast as you can. You had to have good form, but you could shake out an arm, crank out 10 more, shake out an arm. In fact, you could do the same thing with pull-ups. You could crank out many pull-ups you could. If you could hang on there with one arm, you could shake out an arm, shake out an arm, do more pull-ups. They changed that rule probably about 2000. Um, but we had some sick numbers. We had guys 150, 160 push-ups, easy, several. And then we had um, guys hitting 50 plus pull-ups. I think the most I ever hit was like 33, but for like these PSTs, I was only at 20, 25. Um, yeah. But then later on, I actually did really well. I actually got my swim under 7 minutes, like 6:40, and then I got a run down to 8:15 when I was probably about 25, 26. So those were good scores. I was pretty happy with those. Heard you say there's different ways to prepare, and your training is just a way. Absolutely. What's your take on running 60 miles a week, swimming 25,000 yards a week with resting heart rate at 35? Sounds like you're a great cardio machine. I'm not sure what you're training for, but if you're training for triathlons, that's pretty good. I don't think you need to run that many miles a week nor swim that many yards per week if you're training for buds. I think there's other things that you could spend that time doing besides running and swimming. But your cardio's exceptional. There's still some resistance training that goes on, load bearing activities, rucking. All of those things require um, definitely some strength foundation in there. And that's what I try to do. I would see you, and if that's all you were telling me, I would say we need to get in the weight room and get you stronger. But I don't have the full picture of your athletic history. I saw a video yesterday where that was the recommendation for success at SOAS. I disagree. Put it this way, none of my guys that have been selected for SOAS did anywhere near that. So once again, I have a way, not the only way. I'm not knocking it, just saying I don't prescribe that level of swimming. Because here's why. Whenever you get out there, you're only going to be tested in a 2,000-yard swim and a 500-yard swim. Why are you swimming 25,000? It's just a waste of time, especially if you're doing it with fins. You're going to swim 2,000 yards with fins. And then when you're at buds, you're going to swim 4,000 yards with fins every week. 4,000. Why are you swimming 25,000? I don't think I've ever swum more than 10,000 yards a week in any of my training that I did before, during, or after buds. So, and I've never run 60 miles a week. Probably got up to 50, usually stuck between 40 and 50. So, look, like I said, I have a way, you do your way. What's the major difference in what you've learned when training your guys since you started doing so, if there's any difference? I created a system called seasonal tactical fitness periodization. That has evolved over the years. The first time I did it was back in like 2000 with Maximum Fitness. It was my first attempt at that idea of what had worked for me for 5 or 6 years. I had tested out on myself where, I did cows and cardio in the spring and summer. I did lifting a deload of running in the fall and winter and did more swimming in the winter, came back around, picked up some strength, some mass, came back around and um, ripped it back up with cows and cardio in the spring and summer. And a running progression. So the running progression was kind of like a big bell curve through the year. That definitely changed the way I do training. But, I started that 23 years ago and I really haven't um, changed from that system, but I've changed the workouts within that system multiple times. In fact, every year I make some minor change to it. And that's what these programs are. These programs like the seasonal tactical, this is my winter lift cycle program, but the, tactical strength, the book Tactical Strength, the book's fall winter lift cycle, the book Increase Strength, Crush the PFT. Those are other winter lift cycles that I've created throughout the years, and I just made them different products. So it's the same system, just different workouts that get the job done. And there's been some evolution as well. I've started going with the block periodization model, which works really well for people who are hard gainers, spent their time during the winter doing a winter lift cycle. They're finally happy with the gains that they've received from the lifts, but they also need to now get better at running and swimming and rucking and high rep calisthenics. So they need to lay off the weights a little bit, but they're worried they're going to lose all those gains from lifting, especially, weight gains. So we do a block periodization model where we do 3 weeks of cows and cardio, 1 week of strength. In fact, we're doing that right now. Next week will be our fourth week in this cycle where we're going to do a strength week. Um, Reduce the running a little bit, probably by, I think we're running about almost 25, 30 miles a week. We'll probably drop that down to 15, 20, just to give a little break from running, not a stop from running, just a little break. And, that little mini system within the system has been very beneficial for people maintaining their strength during cows and cardio cycles, as well as when we do it in the winter, they're maintaining PST scores while we're in a lift cycle. So I would say that has been very helpful. Even though the other ones didn't have the block periodization, they're still good. They still work very well. Um, I've just seen some new gains that have been fun. And the one thing I like about what I do is I am constantly training people in person. Like today, there were 20 of us working out, all on the same workout, different little subtleties here and there depending on the person. Um, but they give me ideas to create new program. So Wizzy just asked, how do I cycle your training? I think I just explained that. Do you cycle your training between stronger and getting faster at swimming and running? Yes, basically. That's what I just explained. In fact, if you Google or just seasonal tactical fitness periodization, what is it? You can, in fact, I'll put the link right here. It really explains what I do and how I do it. How much land nav do they do at Buds? Significant. I mean, I think you do more at SQT, but you do enough at Buds to where you learn how to do it as well as you'll be tested on how to do it. So it's enough. Definitely. I think it was like the first 3 or 4 weeks of first phase or third phase was all land nav. If training for Buds and I hit the competitive scores on the PST you talk about and pass MEPS, what are the chances I get to go to Buds? 100%. Unless you do something stupid. That's all you got to do. What are my chances to go to buds if I'm already in the Navy? Oof. You know, they're a little bit less than going to the recruiter and joining the Navy and going to buds. That's the fast track and fire hose that gets sent to buds. It's just the way it is. However, there's some sprinkles going here and there every quarter with guys from the fleet able to go to buds or even get back to buds. It's very, very few though, unfortunately. I think we need more. I think it'd be very helpful to have some people that were, at least 3, 4 years in the Navy before, with the besides a whole bunch of new guys right out of boot camp or the academies. Um, just add some diversity and experience in there. But here's the problem: is you have a year group and you have a rating, right? A rating in the Navy is your current job. And if that current job is undermanned, chances are they're not going to let you go, even though Buds wants you. You might have the best Bud scores those guys have ever seen. And, um, but if you're in a rate that is undermanned, you got to, really talk to your guy to make it happen. Your community manager to make that happen. And a lot of times people just have to wait for the very last um, day in the Navy to say, "Look, I'm getting out of the Navy if I don't go to Buds, so you're going to lose me anyway." And that's one way. But you have to re-enlist, in order to do that. So, so it's rating that might not let you go, and your group and Buds that might not allow you to show up, because if that year group is full, you don't get to go to Buds. So let's say 2020 was, well, luckily for you, 2020 is wide open if you're a 2020 guy because of COVID and the mass uh, attrition rate that occurred in the 2020 2021 zone. Um, but let's say you're, 2018, that year group's full and you're going to have a really hard time getting to Buds because you're year group 2018. Don't know what to tell you. That's just the way it is. Just bought some boots, but looking to buy some pants to train into. Any suggestions on where I can find pants that are similar to the pants worn at Buds? Ah, you can Google that stuff. Um, I think they wear the type threes, type twos. What kind of pants? Navy type type three NWUs. Yeah, that's him. Navy enlisted NW type threes. They look like guacamole. In fact, they call them guacs. So there you go. Might be able to find some on Amazon. Is it normal to be breathing pretty heavily by the end of a 500-yard swim? The time is 9 minutes. Yes. Um, but if you're in really good shape and you could do an 8 minutes, you probably shouldn't be breathing very hard at 9 minutes. But if 9 minutes is your current gut check, yeah, you're going to be breathing hard at the end of it. I mean, it's a timed event. Are you breathing hard after a mile and a half? If you're not going fast enough. So, it's a put out evolution. Now, the good thing about it is, as long as you're being efficient in your swimming and you're getting across the pool in fewer strokes, being winded is one thing. Being exhausted because you're just constantly stroking, you're is another, and you'll never recover from that during the time of your PST. You will recover from being winded in about 2.5 minutes. You'll be 100%. So wouldn't sweat it too much. But as long as you're efficient in the water, um, being winded is just part of the deal. Any advice on getting enough water all day without having to pee at night. It's messing up my sleep recovery. You know what? I sometimes don't get that right as well. I will say, um, I have to shut down my drinking of water at about 6 p.m. Otherwise, I am peeing about every 2 hours. I used to try to play catch up at night just because I just was unable to drink a lot of water and I know I needed it. So I drink about 2 quarts between 6 and 9 p.m. And yeah, I'd be waking up 2 times in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. So what I've been trying to do is not drink after 6 p.m. Or if I need something, I just put it in my mouth, squish it around in my mouth and spit it out instead of consume it. And sometimes it just becomes a habit. Like you've consumed all the water you need. Why do you need any more? Let's see. What's your advice for crushing 500-yard swim in a 50-meter pool? My entrance PST at EOD Midshipman Summer Training is in a 50-meter pool. You just need to know that your swim in a 50-meter pool is going to be slower. That's it. Um, the kickoffs the wall in a 25-yard or 25-meter pool just adds speed to your swim that you're never as fast. Put it this way, you're never as fast in a pool than you are when you kick off that wall with a nice streamline breaststroke pull out into the stroke. You're never as fast as you are in those first 5-6 yards than you are in the rest of that length of the pool. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to slow down, but if you lose any momentum throughout your stroke, that can really hurt you in a 25-meter or a 50-meter pool because you just don't. It's hard to make that up unless you have a wall to do it. So my advice would be to watch yourself swim, get a video, make sure you're not popping up because a lot of people pop up to breathe, and as soon as you pop up to breathe, you quit moving horizontally. It's amazing. They go like this, boop boop boop. So it's got to turn to breathe. Continue to move and turn to breathe versus popping up to breathe, and that will really help you with your ability to maintain your momentum, in that longer pool. But just be aware it's typically 20 to 30 seconds slower. You could get some jammers shorts if they allow it, like swim shorts that are like biker shorts, really tight, very streamlined. That may help sometimes. Depends on what the uniform is whenever you swim it. I wish I had some CSS to share, but I may have to go. Looks like my emails to myself did not go through, which I'm a little concerned. Um, but I'm going to show you something. I have, um, you guys have probably seen this, but I have an Instagram account. It's Stu Smith 50. Also have a TikTok. But if you go to the reels right here, if you go to the reels, you'll see that it is primarily swimming, except for me flirting with my wife here. And there's all types of different swims here. I usually pull these from TikTok, some of the latest ones, but there's also some older ones as you go through here, and um, you'll see some good ones. Drown proofing, 50-50 swim, explain. Here's one, a guy that's overworking. Remember me talking about a guy that if you're overworking and you're winded at the end of a uh, of a swim, this is probably why. Like if you notice, there's no glide phase here, right? So he's top arm, kick, top arm, bottom arm, kick. Now, if you're winded at the end of this, there's a reason because you're overworking. So what I would try to do is to be a little more efficient with this swim, because this is already, compared to what most efficient swimmers doing, he's doing the stroke count of, what somebody should be able to do 50 meters in. He's doing that in 25. I think this is a 50-meter pool too. So as you can see, he's got no continued momentum with his stroke, no glide. His recovery is a little slow. Like, you can just see his recovery is not streamlined. There's just no glide, right? Um, people, it's funny when people ask me, can I show a perfect example? I'm like, dude, this whole page is nothing but, well, I shouldn't say that. I do show some errors, but there's a ton of perfect swims here, like this. Watch this. Compare this to that other guy. Like, he kicks off. Look at that streamline off the wall. That is streamline. She comes up, no loss of momentum off of the wall. Look at that. There's two strokes. If you want to count the pull out, there's three, four. Look at that. Boom. It doesn't get much better than that right here. Good streamline. And this is not a swimmer, by the way. This is a non-swimming athlete that just can swim well. Very similar to my wrestler who can swim. But yeah, if you're winded at the end of this, it's probably because you've only taken 5 breaths per length, right? So you're going to be a little hypoxic. That's easier to recover from than being tired from 20 strokes per length compared to 4 or 5 strokes per length. So that's the big difference about your breathing. So I hope you guys saw all that. Good. How far is considered to be a good distance to dive? What are you talking about? Diving vertically or horizontally? Have you tracked what percentage of your guys make it through selection? Um, Over the years, it has been a majority of people making it through. In fact, it's still over 90%. Um, though we do have some guys that don't make it through for various reasons. Typically, they are not physically related. Very rarely do we get a guy who fails something. They quit on for some reason. They um what was we did have one guy who was kind of shorter that failed the obstacle course. And that really sucked because he didn't fail anything else, but he just couldn't get over the one of the exercise, one of the obstacles. Um, so yeah, I've tracked it. I don't really try to keep too much track. I just look at the end of every year. I was like, we sent 20 and we had 18 graduate, or sent 10 and we had all 10 graduate. Some years are better than others. Um, some years are slim. It just happens. But I've been doing this for over 25 years, so I mean, it takes a lot of people to screw that statistic up. Do you sometimes deal with people who don't progress at all or very slow? Everybody PST ready in 6 months. I've I've had people PST ready in half that, but absolutely, I've had some people PST ready. It took a year to do, but they came in with really nothing. And what I mean by that is I basically had to teach them how to swim. So not only did they have to learn how to swim, they had to learn how to finish a 500. Then they had to learn how to get efficient with that 500. Then they had to learn how to PT and run after swimming that used to exhaust them. So it really kind of depends. And most of the time, it is one of two things that determines if you're going to be PST ready in less than 6 months or not. And those are your body weight coming in. Like, if you got to lose 50 pounds, 60 pounds, you're not going to be ready in 6 months. If you have to learn how to swim, chances are you're not going to be ready in 6 months. I will say that one of my proudest coaching moments has been with a young man who came in and got across the pool, and he was very excited because he got across the pool for the first time ever swimming across the pool. And then that guy became a SEAL about a year later. He went to Buds. So I get all types. Horizontally. We've done some dives. I mean, you're limited to, especially when you're on a dragger, you're limited to 4 hours in a day of diving on that dragger. So you can only go so far. So what we tend to do is, yes, if we want to extend the life of that dragger, we will do some turtle backing. So we may turtle back for a mile or two, then dive for the middle mile in, middle mile out, and then have to turtle back on the surface, um, or stay under until you actually have no O2 left on that dragger. So it really kind of depends. So as far as just diving, I don't think I've ever done an O2 exhaustion dive for distance. We did it for time. Um, but you could go a couple of miles horizontally, definitely, because you're going at about 100 yards every 3 minutes. So think about that. So put that into an equation. 3 minutes, you go 100 yards. That's your pace that you muscle memory. So you can now look at a clock and realize, okay, it's been 9 minutes. I've gone 300 yards. Time to make a right hand turn. Got your compass there. Boom, got to go for another 9 minutes, 300 yards. Right. And you can, make a little navigation course underwater. Um, so you're somewhat limited, like I said, to the human body's being able to actually dive a dragger distance. We never really dove very far on scuba. It was never something we did. We learned how to scuba dive on open circuit tanks, but we never really used them for ops other than like a backup, emergency underwater device, really. Good morning, Stu. Thanks for our help. Not a problem. 90%. That's exceptional. Um, yeah, but you know what? Um, it's just when people find me, they are forced to make a commitment to train. And if they stick around, they are making a commitment to join and be here 6 days a week and do some extra credit on their own if they can. So it's a program that just requires effort and a commitment. And a lot of people put it this way: I've had people not join the Navy or the military because they realized they did not have the same level of commitment that other people did. In my book, I count that as a win because I just saved that dude a whole lot of heartache, and the Navy as well. So now they went on to do something else. It became, police officers or firefighters or uh, decided to do something else in the military. Um, but yeah, been doing this a while. Got a lot of cool stories. What's a rough breakdown, a typical group of your guys? How many buds, SWAT? Good question. I would say right now we have uh, a couple FBI guys that are SWAT team members now. Just were training with us to become SWAT team members. Got a couple firefighters, and we have a majority of guys that want to go either Navy SEAL or EOD, and a couple of Army Ranger SF guys. We did have a couple of PJs recently. I think they're in the pipeline now, doing well. Uh, but we truly have a mix of everybody. If I were to look at it over the last year, um, I think we hit every branch of service: Marines, Navy, Air Force, Army, even Coast Guard, firefighters, and police SWAT. So everybody, unrelated to training. But what are some of the best spots to eat in Annapolis area? I would highly recommend a restaurant in Annapolis, right on Dock Street. It's right there and in the water. In fact, it's called Dock Street Bar and Grill. It's actually a family-owned restaurant. My family. My brother-in-law owns it. It's great. Best voted best crab cakes in town. If you're in Annapolis, you got to get a crab cake. Get one at Dock Street. Um, and that's not just a commercial for Dock Street. I don't. He does well enough without me publicizing it. Um, but they're really good crab cakes. There's another place called Federal House down there I really like. There's Buddy's Crabs and Ribs. I like their gumbo. Um, if you like a kind of a pseudo fast food, there's a Mission Barbecue right there in the middle of Annapolis downtown. I like Mission Barbecue a lot. It's kind of fun. It's got a bunch of SEAL memorabilia in there, military, army, police, firefighters in there. A lot of memorabilia. So they're really catered to the mission. That's why they call it Mission Barbecue. Really fun spot. If you've never been to a Mission Barbecue, I'd recommend it. At noon, they do the national anthem. Got to stand up, do the national anthem. It's always cool. When swimming with fins, should one be bending their knees when kicking? Should it be more hip ankle? This is a tough one because your knees slightly bend. Not too much, like you're riding a bicycle, but they should slightly bend like you do flutter kicks on your back. But you should feel most of the work in your hips. And yes, you should feel your ankles somewhat tight as well, or hyper flexed as well, like a ballerina. Um, Recommend land nav for beginner. I'd go online and see if anybody teaches it near you. Um, that's probably the best way to go. There's always somebody doing a land nav course. You can look at it as an orienteering course. That might have better results when you search it. How much time do you spend stretching? Well, we don't really do a lot of stretching. We do dynamic stretching, and we actually do calisthenics and jogging to warm up. Um, but there's some stretching in there, but it's usually pretty dynamic, and everybody kind of stretches on their own if they need it. I will usually do a little squat pyramid 1 to 10 with some 50-meter jogs and dynamic stretches in between, jog a mile. And somewhere in that mile, I will stop to stretch my calves and hips and thighs and hams and then finish up. So it takes about 20 minutes to get through that warm up. Then we get after it with squats and lunges and deadlifts and fireman carries, stuff like that. All right, folks, I need to go. I got something coming up at 10, and I will see you guys next week. You guys check out stewsmithfitness.com if you're looking for programming or great articles over there as well. But you can also email me, stew@stewsmith.com, if you got any questions. Throw some likes up there. I appreciate your time. In fact, give you a live 1-5 coupon code if you want to save 15% over there on Stew Smith Fitness. I appreciate it. You guys have a good one. I'll see you next week.